Am I the asshole for still not letting my sister into my house after she made me miss my daughter's birth? Frankly, I don't know if I'm being an asshole. Family seems to think I am, so just want to know what others here think. My sister is 25 and was going to meet her dad, who was not my dad, for the first time in almost 18 or 19 years, and she was really nervous. She asked me to go with her for support. He was staying at some hotel about 30 minutes away, and the whole ride over there, my sister had my phone to give me directions. My wife was calling me because she'd gone into labor. Then my mother-in-law was calling me too. My sister put my phone on Do Not Disturb without me knowing and erased the notifications. I didn't even realize it until after we were leaving from having lunch with him an hour and a half later that she'd been calling me. All my sister told me was that I had a missed call. When I found out, I was yelling at her the whole ride to the hospital. Her only excuse was that this was a big emotional moment for her meeting her dad and she was scared doing it alone knowing how her anxiety is. This was the only time they'd have to see each other since he was leaving in a few days and wouldn't be back for months. I really couldn't believe it. By the time we got there,
Storytime of how the Ouija board predicted my sister's death. So back in 2017, I had this really close group of friends and they were all like family to me. And we would always have sleepovers. And one day we decided, hey, let's actually do something fun tonight. So we were searching up fun things to do with group of friends on Google and a Ouija board ended up popping up. I had remembered that my grandma had one and I asked her if I could use it and she said absolutely not, but I got it anyways. It was in her closet buried with a whole bunch of stuff and she said that she was going to end up burning it. But you know, I don't really listen, so I took it anyways. It was like a week later that I ended up getting it. I didn't end up getting it that exact night. But then the night came and we were playing it. Well, trying to figure out how to play it. At home was just me, my stepdad, my little sister, and my group of friends. And my mom and stepdad ended up going out, so I had to watch my little sister and she had to play with us. So after my mom and stepdad left, we started playing it and this is where things start to take a turn. I had never ever believed in anything like this and I thought it was all silly and jokes. So we were looking up videos on how to play it and we came across one. It was really creepy. This story ends up getting really interesting, so like for a part 2.
My family, who is extremely homophobic, ended up kicking me out and replacing me with my best friend. My family is absolutely awful when it comes to topics about the LGBTQ plus community. Literally any mention of it and they get extremely upset. Which sounds like they're suppressing something to me, but I had a friend that we can call Katie and my family absolutely adored her. Every Christmas they would buy her presents. She would spend family movie night with us and they honestly treated her like she was the favorite daughter. So one day I made the decision to come out and I decided to talk to Katie about it. She was literally so supportive and so respectful that I gained the confidence to talk to my family about it. Bad idea. Health striked and they immediately kicked me out of the house. So I found myself on a schedule of switching from couch to couch at different friends' houses. One particular night that was really hard for me, I decided to go visit them. I was missing them and also hopeful that they might accept me back in. And as I approached the house, my best friend was over there. She was playing games and doing family movie night with them, and so I decided to knock on the door. I burst into tears and went off on all of them. The absolute audacity. Later, my best friend texted me saying that she had a secret. Follow my Insta.
Can you solve this mystery? This is the story of 8 college students who went on a mountain climbing trip that went terribly wrong. One of them went insane and the other one went missing. But what really happened here and what are the rest of them hiding? All the clues are hidden in what I'm about to say. So these 8 college students decided to climb the tallest mountain in their area, but the weather took an unexpected turn for the worse and they ended up stranded there for 2 weeks, unable to come back down. After 2 weeks, a rescue team found them, but there were only 7 of them left. The 8th climber was missing, and the 7th climber had gone completely insane and had to be put in a mental hospital. The remaining 6 climbers made a full recovery, and when the police began questioning them, all their answers were the same. They say the 8th climber went to find help and never came back. Then the police went to the mental hospital to talk to the 7th climber, just to see if he knew something that the rest of them didn't. But when they tried to talk to him, all he did was bang his head on the wall and repeat 8888. What happened to the missing 8th climber? And what drove the 7th climber to insanity? Can you solve this mystery?
now I'm sure many of us have encountered little shits in supermarkets. Kids running around, knocking things over, being rude, but the worst are the biters. Today I was shopping in the grocery store when a biter got me. He broke skin too and I started bleeding. When I saw the blood on his teeth and the grin he had, the gears started turning and I got an idea. Made my eyes go wide and started screaming, shit, fuck, no. My good friend was there too and he instantly picked up on what I was doing. He started shouting, fuck, maybe he didn't get it. Shit. By now, the kid is scared shitless and starts crying, and instantly his mom appears out of nowhere and starts getting pissy at us for yelling at her kid. Here's the kicker. I look her straight in the eye and say, ma'am, get your son tested as soon as possible. He just bit me and I'm HIV positive. And now there's silence, not a peep in the entire store. Brat knows he just fucked up big time because his mom isn't defending his ass. He stares at me wide-eyed and I walk away from them to buy my groceries. All while blood is dripping from my calf, making a nice little trail on the floor. Just as we're about to leave, we start to hear the mom sobbing like the little she is.
I just found out that my daughter is engaged and getting married to a man who is 20 years older than her. She's 19 and he's almost 40. Apparently, she's been seeing this man for the last 6 months and recently announced their engagement. I am in disbelief. What makes it worse is that she had confided in my sister, her aunt, about this when she first started seeing this guy. My sister encouraged her to do what makes her happy and basically pushed her into this relationship. Now she swears up and down that he's the love of her life and they're meant to be. She just told me about the relationship 2 weeks ago because she said she knew her father and I wouldn't be okay with it and was afraid of my reaction. She wanted me to meet her future husband before she introduced him to the rest of the family, so she invited me to brunch with them. When I arrived, I could instantly tell that this man knew what he was doing. I can't fathom what a 19-year-old and a 40-year-old have in common. I know this man is well off from the way he spoke about work. I could feel my teeth grit every time he put his hand on my daughter's lap, and it made me extremely uncomfortable to see them affectionate towards each other. Throughout the entire brunch, I was biting my tongue. However, when he mentioned that he wanted to purchase a house in another state for them to start a family soon after the wedding, I lost it. Things got extremely heated from here.
My husband and I have 2.5 kids. My oldest is 10 years old, my middle child is 5, and I'm currently 5 months pregnant. My 10-year-old is from a previous relationship, and my 5-year-old is adopted. My sister got pregnant unexpectedly, saw adoption as her only choice, and didn't want the baby to go to strangers, so I stepped up. We did everything right. My sister went to therapy to consult on her choice, and I went with her to make sure she was sure, and we did everything that was recommended for adoptive mothers/birth mothers along the way. It wasn't an immediate adoption. I got guardianship, and we built to an adoption, and my sister was involved in the entire process, and again, never expressed any issues in the time it took to finalize. Just over a month ago, I announced my pregnancy. My 5-year-old knows about the biological relationship between her and my sister. Shortly after telling people about the pregnancy, my sister and I arranged to meet up in person in the park. She then told my 5-year-old to give mommy a hug, and my 5-year-old immediately grabbed me and my sister got shitty about it. I asked her what she was trying to do, and she said that I had a baby on the way and assumed that I was done with the 5-year-old and was going to have a new favorite. I said I don't.
This is the story of my worst bar customer ever. It was just me and another bartender on a Thursday night, and we were pretty much waiting on this last table to leave. It was a group of guys with like 3 girls. The whole night, this one guy was flexing that he was going to put everything on his tab and he was going to pay for everything so the girls could drink whatever they wanted. Of course, that meant I put everything on his tab. The girls left and went to the next bar, so it was time to close him out. When I brought him his tab without even looking at it, he demanded for my phone number before he would pay for it. I told him I wasn't going to give him my phone number and he needed to pay regardless. I brought his tab over a second time and his friends encouraged him to pay it so they could leave. That's when he threw a couple of crunched up dollar bills at me on the floor. I told him I wasn't going to pick it up. Then he called me a bitch and tried to grab me. The other bartender I was working with stepped in at that point and told him he needed to pay her and leave. This guy swung a punch at my coworker but missed. That's when we had to call public security, and you won't believe what the guy did next. This is the story of my worst bar customer ever. It was just me and another bartender on a Thursday night, and we were pretty much waiting on this last table to leave. It was a group of guys with like 3 girls. The whole night, this one guy was flexing that he was going to put everything on his tab and he was going to pay for everything so the girls could drink whatever they wanted. Of course, that meant I put everything on his tab. The girls left and went to the next bar, so it was time to close him out. When I brought him his tab without even looking at it, he demanded for my phone number before he would pay for it. I told him I wasn't going to give him my phone number and he needed to pay regardless. I brought his tab over a second time and his friends encouraged him to pay it so they could leave. That's when he threw a couple of crunched up dollar bills at me on the floor. I told him I wasn't going to pick it up. Then he called me a bitch and tried to grab me. The other bartender I was working with stepped in at that point and told him he needed to pay her and leave. This guy swung a punch at my coworker but missed. That's when we had to call public security, and you won't believe what the guy did next.